Welcome to lesson 7. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to do these things. We're going to use guides to position text in a composition. Right over here, these are guides. They don't mean anything. They don't print. If you were to print this isn't going to print. This is just simply to help you line things up. You're going to make a clipping mask from type. We're going to merge type with other layers. We're going to preview fonts. We're going to format text. We're going to flow text along a path, and we're going to control type and positioning using advanced features. So our final project is going to look like this. When you start it, it's going to look like this. The difference, now this is my lesson 6. If you were to look at mine versus what they have, they aren't exact. For example, my background is different. My person is more, theirs is over on the edge. So there are some differences. Plus you have a note right here. So there should be some differences with this and what you've done. Okay? Because I don't think any of us did it exact. But this is what we're going to start with. So go ahead and open up this file. It's lesson 7 start, and go ahead and click file, save as, and we're going to change it to working underscore with your last name. All right. We're going to do something different here. We are going to choose graphic and web from the workspace switcher. So go up here to window, workspace, go to graphic and web, and that changes what's over here. Those are all the different workspaces. We haven't really talked about workspaces, but these are some different ones. You can create your own workspace. If you don't like any of these, you could go and change what's here. You could, for example, open up the default. This is the default. You could add some things, and then you could go up here and you could actually save your workspace. But we're in this time, we're going to do graphic and web. So it's going to have a few different things. So a quick question for you. When you add text to an image in Photoshop, what resolution do the characters have? You know. It's whatever the full resolution of a Photoshop the document you're working on is. You're welcome. So you're going to be adding multiple types layers that need to line up on the canvas. To simplify alignment, you'll start by adding non-printing guides to help position the type. Choose view and then fit on the screen. And that fits it nicely. The view actual size command makes Photoshop ruler match real world ruler. Actual size works best with print documents, not documents measured in pixels. So choose view and then rulers if you don't have them. View and then rulers. I already had rulers here. And if your rulers aren't displaying in inches, which mine aren't, I'm going to simply right click on it and change it to inches. So we're going to create a clipping mask from type. A clipping mask is an object or a group of objects whose shape masks other artwork so that only areas within the clipping mask are visible. In effect, you're clipping the artwork to the visible pixels of the layer. In Photoshop, you can create a clipping mask from shapes or letters. In this exercise, we're going to use letters as a clipping mask to allow an image in another layer to show through. So, we're going to drag a vertical guide from the left ruler to the center of the document, which is 4.5 inches. And you may say, well, how in the world do I do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you. If you just click right here, left click with your mouse and drag it over. And we want to get it to 4.5. Boom. All right, so now we've got that guide in the center of our document. If you find it difficult to position the vertical ruler guide, it's supposed to be 4.25. Excuse me. I'm going to show you. Whoa, what in the world is my computer doing? Going crazy. Show you how you can move it. I'm going to try. I'm having issues here. Okay. If I click on this guide, hold down the Shift key. There you go. 4.25. So holding down the Shift key will snap the guide to that ruler tick mark. So now you're ready to add type to the composition. You can enter point type, which is short text anchored to a point, or paragraph type, which is multiple lines that recompose as you resize their text container. First, you're going to create point type. In the Layers panel, select Pattern Fill One Layer. So if you haven't selected that layer already, go ahead and do that. Select the Horizontal Type tool. Horizontal Type tool. And in the options bar, do the following. I'm going to change this to Minions. Scroll down here. Minion Pro Regular. Minion Pro Regular. And then type 115 for the size. And then press enter. One won't. Press enter. And then click the center text button. So this button right here is the center text. In the character panel, your character panel is over here. We're going to change the tracking value to 50. And you may say, which one of these is tracking? Well, if you hover your mouse, set tracking. There's tracking, there's horizontal scale, there's vertical scale, there's kerning, font size, leading. We'll talk about leading, kerning, and tracking. You're going to need to know the difference between leading, kerning, and tracking. But in this case, we're doing tracking, and we're going to set that to 50. The tracking value specifies the overall space between letters, which affects the density in a line of text. Position the pointer over the center guide you added to set an insertion point, roughly where the guide crosses the edge of the model's shadow. Click, and then we're going to type the word typecast in all capital letters. So right here. Typecast in all capital letters. And then click the commit button or the check mark. After you type, you must commit your editing in the layer by clicking that commit any current edits button, switching to another tool or layer, or clicking away from the text layer. You can't commit to current edits by pressing enter or return. Doing so would create a new line of type. So we've added the word typecast, and it appears in the layers panel as a new type layer named typecast. You see that right here. You can edit and manage the type layer as you would any other layer. You can add or change the text, change the orientation of the type, apply anti-aliasing, we did that before, apply layer styles and transformations, and create masks. You can move, restack, and copy a type layer, or edit its layers options just as you would for any other layer. The text is big enough, but not modern enough for this design. So we're going to try a different font. So just double click the word typecast. Open the font family pop-up menu. Hover to the pointer over the font list, either with the mouse or the arrow keys. And you can see there's a dinosaur font. I was doing some dinosaur stuff earlier. When you hover your mouse over it, the font, you can see a preview of what it's going to look like. We're going to select Myriad Pro Semi-Bold or something similar. You don't have to do exactly what I do, but it may make it easier. Myriad Pro Semi-Bold. Is that what I said? Yeah, Semi-Bold. Myriad Pro Semi-Bold. Tells you right there. All right, and then we're going to click the check mark. So let me ask you this: when the point, what does tracking value specify? We just talked about letting, tracking, and kerning. Tracking, is it? We'll see if you were listening. Is it the horizontal text versus vertical text? Is it the vertical height of characters? Is it the vertical space between lines of text? Or is it the overall space between letters? If you think that in your brain that's the overall space between the letters, you got it right. There you go. All right, so if you need to move your text around any, you can do that. But for right now, that's a good place to stop. Let me ask you one more question before we get out of this video. What happens to selected text when you hover the cursor over a font name? We did that before, just a second ago when we had I'll show you. When you do this, what happens when you hover over the font name? It's temporarily applied to the text as a preview. So I need to go back to my Myriad Pro Semi-Bold. All right, so let's click File and then Save.